Hi YouTube, happy Friday. I missed you. I hope you missed me too. I hope you probably did miss me. It's been a whole week. We haven't talked. Let's talk. This week we're going to talk about faith and what your faith is, what my faith is. How do you feel about faith? Are you atheist? Are you agnostic? Are you Christian, Muslim, Jewish? Whatever. We're going to talk about it right here. Stay tuned and come right back. Welcome back. Today I'm told is Good Friday, and I don't really know what's so good about it. For me, it kind of just started, so I don't know how somebody already knows it's good. Just kidding. I know why today is Good Friday, and I'm sure you do too. In the Christian faith, today is the alleged day that Jesus was crucified, although it's just like Christmas. Today wouldn't be the actual date because, one, we don't know when that was. Two, Constantine set it to be in between a particular time after the first full moon, after the spring equinox, and that way Easter can always fall on Sunday, blah, blah, blah. That's not really the whole point of this video. I love teaching, and I would love to teach everybody about Easter, but I kind of like to keep these nice, short, and sweet, and a little more about my life. And where this gets a little more personable, I used to be a very devout fundamentalist Christian, and I have the cross to prove it. When I was a child, I didn't grow up in a very loving environment towards me. I kind of always felt like this alien that accidentally got stuck with the wrong parents. There was never this like feeling of closeness or it's kind of funny because there's a big window in front of me, which I'm going to show you because I totally realized in last week's video I forgot to show you guys the new view, and it kind of started raining, but just in one spot as I was doing this. ADD brain, of course, goes off on that and wants to go, wait, what's happening? God bless editing. Ironic, God bless editing, and we're talking about. Anywho, it wasn't the best setting in my life, and I'm currently writing a book, and all of this will be in way more detail in my book, so stay tuned for that. It's probably going to definitely be a year away, but just so you know, it's out there. When I was younger, my grandmother was born Italian Catholic. It was part of her tradition, who she is, how she identifies, and that was something that was going to be passed down to me, but she became my godmother. I got christened in the Catholic Church. And Catholicism was never my jam, to each their own, but for me personally, it was way too rigid, and I never really got out of it what I was looking for, that sense of connectivity, that sense of me practicing compassion to the point that I can see myself in every other individual. Personally, I never got that out of Catholicism. Eventually, I found this fundamentalist. I didn't know it was fundamentalist. I didn't know what fundamentalist was. Southern Baptist Church in the very small Texas town that I grew up in. And it was recommended to me from friends. And they went, and so they were able to drive me and take me there every Wednesday and Sunday. And that became a thing. And it was actually really good for me, because it got me away from my house, away from my crazy situation, and it gave me hope. It gave me this sense of somebody has my back, something greater than me has my back. My home life is really shitty. I'm not feeling any love in the circumstance. All I really want to do in this case is just escape at whatever means possible. I don't want to get so morbid, but suicide, whatever it may be, just to get me out of here. And then all of a sudden I found this place where I was finding that community, and most of the time I was able to work on seeing myself in other people. And what I really started to do was learn about this Jesus figure. I always had this desire to want to make the world a better place. I don't know why, I don't know where it came from. I can't say that it was there when I was a small child or anything like that, but from the moment I had that my memories really start to form and I really start to see myself of who I was, let's say maybe around middle school time period, it was probably this evolution of Chaz where my goal was to make the world a better place somehow. To be learning about this Jesus figure, the way that it was taught to me, love thy neighbor, etc., etc., it just spoke to me, and I wanted to learn more, and I wanted to really delve into that subject. But where I could never go with this church was that if you didn't believe the same way they believed, you were going to hell. And many times in this particular church that I went to, some of the sermons were rough. And when I say like fire and brimstone rough. Well, I totally got interrupted there because my phone decided to run out of memory space, and it's my fault. I need to do better. Do better, Chaz. My biggest beef was that nobody who believed the same way went to heaven. I always had this desire to want to learn more about other religions, but I didn't really have access to it. And then when I went to college, I wanted to sign up for a world religion class, but to be honest, I also just wanted to get in and get out. And I knew what my degree was, and that was not required for my degree at all. So I never really did anything about it. And it wasn't until later on in my life when I finally had time to dedicate to studying my own religion that I was self-proclaiming, as well as others, and I started taking this hard look. And it kind of, to be honest, I think it started from like watching a documentary, and I remember the documentary saying something about a figure like Jesus that came before Jesus, and some of the similarities they shared, and I thought, what? Excuse me, there wasn't just one Jesus? And it confused me, because what people forget is a religion, or that belief, that it becomes part of your identity, part of your culture. And so even people watching this right now who are fundamentalist Christians or even devout Christian, and I say something that veers from what your belief is, there's this feeling almost like a personal attack, even though I'm not trying to personally attack you, or nobody's trying to personally attack you. It's just because it's making you slightly, even for a second, question your own identity. And that's exactly what happened in this thing. And I think I even needed a bit to process it all and be like, wait, what? And so then I was on this journey. I was like, I'm going to do as much research as I possibly can, and I did. I started reading a ton of books. I started taking online classes, not just about Christianity, but about Islam, about Buddhism, about Confucianism, everything. I wanted to know all the history. I wanted to know, okay, Hinduism's the oldest religion. When did it start? How did it start? What did early Homo sapiens do? And it just sent me spiraling, and I just couldn't get enough information. And once you start studying world religion, and even if you start studying the historical Jesus, which his real name was Yeshua, you can never look at it as an organized religion the same way again. Well, I am now onto my camera. I was trying to use my phone. It's the iPhone X, and it films so well, so I've been trying it. But now I'm back to my Canon G9. Shout out to both of those things. When I went and I started studying the historical Jesus, his main message that these historians agreed on was love thy neighbor as you love yourself. And there was even a rabbi before him that was asked to quote the entire Torah while standing on one leg. And he said, okay, he picked up his leg and he essentially said, love thy neighbor as yourself. And so this even predates Yeshua, that this was this movement. At the core of it was to love each other as you love yourself, and to be able to see each other in it. And these historians agree when Jesus was talking about the kingdom to come, he was talking about here on earth, all humans coming together from different cultures and beliefs and truly loving each other for what they are. And again, historians say that Jesus was not telling somebody from outside of Israel area or somebody of a different faith, a Gentile, that they had to convert to Christianity. And that was a huge debate after he died with what his apostles or his brother or anybody that was trying to start this new movement, they bickered with each other because they didn't quite sure where it fell. Was this a new movement? Is it not a new movement? Are we still Jews? Are we not? Yada, yada, yada. And it's believed, again, according to these historians, that when the letters that Paul starts writing begin coming out shortly after Jesus dies, he goes to a town not too far away, and he sees them loving each other. Different people from different culture backgrounds are coming together, they're breaking bread together, and they're living in this harmony. And when he sees that, he has this epiphany. Now, again, according to his letters, he goes blind, yada, yada. But oftentimes with these stories, you have to remember that it is a story, and it's meant to be told as a story for your brain to save it. So it has to have, just like any good story would have, metaphors so that you can understand it better. And it's believed that his metaphor here, as far as going and seeing this and having this epiphany that Jesus had risen, was more in the sense of his word. What he said survived his death. His entire message, when he preached, another town over after he dies, they're practicing it. They're actually living that life. And that, to him, was the resurrection, because this message of loving thy neighbor, it was happening right in front of his eyes. And so he was profoundly touched by it and wanted to continue to spread that. Regain my thoughts and going off on that teaching thing. I'm trying to tell my personal thoughts, but I got to give a little history. If you saw my bed at one time, my nightstand, I'm sure there's going to be a picture somewhere over here. You would think I was a crazy person, but it's just fascinating to me. And I still look at Yeshua as a role model. I don't identify as a Christian because I believe what the modern day churches have put on that is nothing what Yeshua would want to have. So, my personal beliefs on most religions is, did Jesus really die and was he a savior? Personal belief, no. Did Jesus live? Did he spread message of loving thy neighbor? Did he make a big commotion? Yes, I do believe that. And his history goes to show that something did happen in that time period with a guy that did have some radical views. And there was other people too, and but Jesus's message seemed to survive the most, creating that Christos of loving thy neighbor continuing on, and therefore, because that continued on, Jesus continued on. And that I do believe. My personal beliefs with the higher power and all of that, the universe is a vastly large place, and we are just a speck of a speck of a Milky Way. And to sit here and try to rationalize something that is in control of all of that, or has anything to do with all of that, or is the energy that moves through all of that, I think is naive on my part. And that's something that I really like about early Judaism, is they never really mention God's name. His name in Judaism, Christianity, and technically Islam is Yahweh. It talks about it earlier in the Bible, and it was different texts are going to write it differently, and that was because when the reader at that time was to get to it, they weren't supposed to ever say its name out loud, because they didn't believe that the human had the capability to sum up that into one word. And I really agree with that. I think if you do believe in a higher power, how could you ever try to sum it up in one word? That doesn't make sense. Love is hard to sum up in one word, and the Greeks didn't used to sum it up in one word, but we do now because we try to simplify. Going on. So I ran out of memory again, completely throwing off my flow. Again, it is crazy how difficult I've had putting this video out there. Maybe I'm not supposed to. I thought it was appropriate, but my cameras have not. Long story short, whatever you're celebrating this weekend, or if you're celebrating Passover, which is also coming up, have a wonderful time surrounded by your friends, families, whatever it is that you do. My personal philosophy is live the life you feel that is right for you. We're all different. We're all have different biological makeups and feelings and experiences that shape us to who we are. And only you can tap into finding whatever you view as divine. If that's something within yourself, if that's nothing, if that's whatever, but you're the one that's going to find your faith. And when hard times come, that's when you're going to see what that faith is. What do you turn to? Did you find it within yourself? Did you find it in a higher power? Whatever it may be. I want to know what faith is to you. And do you have any evolutions within your faith, etc.? Leave that in the comments below. If you like this video, like it, of course, to let me know. You didn't like it? I'm sorry. I guess you can go ahead and dislike it. Sad face. And as always, if you're watching this for the first time, subscribe. I look forward to talking to you next week. It's going to be crazy because I'm actually going to be out of town, and so I'm not sure if I'm going to make it work or not, but stay tuned. Worst case scenario, I'm just going to upload a 30-second video of me saying, hi, I'm doing good, miss you, whatever. All right, all my love, don't forget to do something a little good in the world. Love you, subscribe, comment, like, stay in touch, go out, have an amazing holiday weekend. Bye.